where we focused on enabling the second level leadership for the growth stage companies. And we do it through our keynotes and workshops. And as part of the Coral Leadership Collective team, we used to host a lot of webinars and podcast series. And today's webinar is one of such initiative. And today we are going to discuss about AI for CEOs. To discuss this, I have an interesting guest to introduce to you all. He is Mr. Venkatarangan Thirumalai. He is a founder catalyst and he is a honorary director at Microsoft. He has 28 years of expertise in technology, and more than that, he is also a blogger, and he is the author of the book Nutpam and also the author of upcoming book called Founder Catalyst. His deep expertise in AI and technological space is going to enable to share a lot of insights in today's webinar. Thank you, Venkatarangan, for your time and availability with us today. I'm sure that today we are going to have a lot of insights on what is AI, how it can be used, how it can be used in a layman perspective to gather more insights about it.
Thank you, Arun. It's a pleasure being here and seeing so many of you here. On a workday evening, it's wonderful to see a lot of people here. So I'm also looking forward to the questions that we have got in the last couple of days. Very interesting questions, the early ones I saw. So thank you once again. Thank you, Kural, for hosting me here. Thanks.
Welcome, Venkat. So today, Venkat, I just wanted to start with a question like people speak about AI, including the Chat GPT, Gemini, and the recent trend. Most of the people are uploading the Ghibli images, and the social media is just flooding over that. So does that mean AI is all about getting some updates over the chats or tools for creating some? What is its true potential? How, as a business owner, I can leverage AI in terms of driving real business value? Can you share some insights about it?
Sure, that's a very good question, Arun, because when I address a lot of CEOs, decision makers, the first question they get is, yes, I have used ChatGPT, my team has got ChatGPT access, so which means have I AI enabled my organization? It's not so. It's just one tool. Just by giving Microsoft Office or Word or Excel, you are not enabling your organization, you're not transforming them. It's a lot more than that. That is how you need to compare. Just by providing them with ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot, you're only giving them the basic tool. The difference is, let me just take a minute. The AI as a term was coined in 1956 in Dartmouth College by John McCarthy and the wonderful people there. From that, almost about 70 years, this term has been around. People have been experimenting. What has changed in the last couple of years with ChatGPT in November 22 coming is that these tools have become easily accessible to us through a browser interface and also easily accessible to us through a chat interface. But AI as a field and machine learning as a subfield of it has been around for more than 20, 30 years. Our Gmail, our Google Maps, our Gmail filtering, Netflix movie recommendation is all ML at work. So this has been around and organizations are using. Any large organization today, if they have a data lake, large volumes of data for decision making, they're already using data analytics to cull out the insights. So ML and AI has been used. What is done in the last 3-4 years with ChatGPT and the tools like that, with generative AI, it's made it easily accessible to all of us through a chat interface. So answering your question, what does it mean beyond summarization, writing, Ghibli images and all that? I think it's an opportunity, especially with the recent last couple of months trend of agentic AI, which is using these LLM, large language models, generative AI, your chat GPTs and so on, to connect them, give them agency with these agentic workforces, connect them with your existing workflows, your SAPs, your accounting, your manufacturing, your robotics, so on and so forth. Give these LLMs the agency to connect through this, through something called as MCP protocol. If necessary, we'll see it later. Now, once you give this agency, these LLMs are able to make decisions or advise decisions. So coming back to your question, it's more than summarization and writing. By taking it to the next level, it's an opportunity. The way I see for CEOs and decision makers is these LLMs and generative AI give you an opportunity to reimagine your entire workflow in the business process.
Thank you, Venkat. I think that's quite interesting. I'm hearing about the AI in 1956 around 70 years it's in place. It's just not a recent wave that happened yesterday. That's
Correct.
new perspective. Another one thing, Venkat, if you see the daily usage in social media, there are so much hype about the AI. AI is going to shake your business. If you are not adapting, it is going to break your business. And a lot of webinars, trainings, technological space, so much things are happening. So, as a growth stage CEO or founder CEO, from layman perspective, why should I care about AI? How is it going to help me to grow my revenue? Either it is going to lower the cost or increasing efficiency or exploring the new markets. What are some practicable business implementable areas that founder CEOs can explore using AI? Can you give your thoughts about this?
Okay, that's again a very good question, Arun. I appreciate the point of view it's coming from. There are a couple of things. Well, let's just take a step back. Should I use AI? Should I not use AI? What am I risking? Why should I do? I think that's where your question is coming from. The bottom line today is, even if you are not using AI in your company, if it's a startup, your decisions are being made for you by using AI. What is the simplest example, which is a very well known examples today? Loan processing, instant loan applications, and insurance policies approvals, medical policy approvals, medical claim approvals, so on and so forth. Those are all being done on your behalf with your data using AI already. So the world around you is not static. The world around you, even the generic world, is AI impacted. Let me give you a very from away from the founder field to the battlefields of Ukraine and Russia to just drive this point across. Today, 50% of the death, killing, it's a sad thing, but that's the statistics. The death that happens in the war fields of Ukraine and Russia are by drones. And many of these drones are automated, or they pinpoint where to hit a missile or whatever by AI. The AI pinpoints here is where an enemy line or an enemy movement or an enemy you need to bomb here. Then a human, probably human in the loop, approves it. So the AI is having impact around our world as we are speaking right this now. Coming back to founder CEOs and startup and all that, today your entire business is being impacted. Your competitors already thinking and actioning with AI. Simplest example again, your Swiggy's or your Zomato, you go for a claim that one food is missing. Today I just ordered a food some time back, one particular item was missing. So it said, can you take a photograph and upload and do? Large portions of that workflow are today automated by AI chatbots behind. Because today Swiggy's and the Zomatos do about a million plus or several millions in a day food packaging. So they do have call center people behind, but a lot of those decisions are being done for AI. Now, coming back to a founder CEO, whatever is your business, whether you are in media or manufacturing or retail or travel, your competition is already seeing how do I use AI to reinvent this business? What used to be your cost advantage earlier by your optimization, productivity, etc., is being changed by AI. You have trained your people, for example, you're a travel agent or a large travel company. You have optimized routes. You have excellent prices with with your suppliers. All that today your competitor is able to change by using AI. And these reasoning models which have come in the recent couple of weeks, your O3, O4, and Google Gemini 2.5, they're able to distill complex ideas into very simple things. So what I will urge business leaders is to look at what is your workflow today. Go to ChatGPT. Simplest way is to go to ChatGPT O3 or O4 and give your process, your core business. I'm into food industry. I'm into bakery products, niche bakery products for school going kids with less sugar, healthy protein, so on. Now, this is the market in Chennai that I'm handling. What is the threat of somebody using AI to do? That's a starting point. You can ask these tools and they will throw some points. Many of them may not be very relevant, but some of them will direct you to thinking in some new dimensions. So this is an opportunity for reinventing your business is what I will start.
That's lovely, lovely. I think you are giving the beautiful points how the business itself can be transformed by
Correct.
leveraging EA. And even today, I have read an article something like one of the hotel have recently implemented AI in terms of chat-based uh, user help desk rather than you dialing the phone, press 1 for the reception, press 2 for order the food. It's all about just scan the QR code and get your things order and get quickly. There is no waiting time. So these
Correct.
things are increasing the user experience and transforming the business definitely.
Correct. Arun, I'd like to
But
highlight you brought a very
yeah.
good point about this hotel industry thing. People, they make a mistake when they think about chat is to replace humans and
Mm,
replace your check-in counters for, again, let's take it's a five-star hotel hypothetically is what you're talking about. I'm not talking about self check-in in a five-star hotel where I'm paying $200, $300 a night. I don't want to go and punch in myself, self-service myself for a check-in. I
mm,
want a human being. I want to be seated somewhere. The check-in process comes to me. That's what your Oberoi hotels you check in. They don't
correct.
ask you to come and stand in the line. Oberoi, you go and sit. They ask you to sit. They give you a drink to do while they bring check-in to you. Or they give you the key and say, go to your room, I'll come and do the check-in there. That human element you shouldn't replace if it's a premium service.
Mm,
What I'm talking about is there are you can use two fronts. One is the customer interface, which is your Swiggy, Zomatos, Uber, Ola kind of example. Second is the premium example, where these AI, especially giving agencies to agentic AI, like what I'm talking about, which is to in simplest terms, you are allowing these AI to connect with your system. That's what I'm talking about. Those go in your backend. So the
mm,
person who's coming in to do my check-in, when I'm seated in a sofa, that person, all the information about me is brought to them at their one screen that they are seeing. So they are able to say, oh, Venkat, you like kite flying? There is a good place here. Once you check in tomorrow morning, 5 o'clock, I'll come and pick you up. Are you interested? That kind of personalized service the person can do. So I'm talking about automating the back-end workflow, in making it a change there.
mm.
So AI can be useful two things. When people, like I said, they only think about the front end chat and they think about cost saving. AI also can become your premium service, can
Mm.
make you charge more. It depends on the business you are in. Are you a roadside or not roadside? Are you a fast food? Are you an Oberoi? Both AI can help. It depends on how you are applying it.
That's excellent. I love your comparison of going to the extreme ends.
Yes.
So I request to the audience, if you have any specific questions, please feel free to post in the Q&A sections and I will pick up as we progress. Yeah, we have discussed about the business transform on the whole. Another question is I want to go to the opposite side, how the AI can be efficiently used in terms of daily operational usage. For example, if there is a company which depends on customer or client to initiate the AI driven, still how I can leverage the AI in terms of various tools to increase the efficiency. Maybe it's the productivity of the meetings or simplifying the reports or sending a customer report by leveraging technology. What are some possibilities for the CEOs and their team to immediately leverage the AI in their daily
Okay.
operations?
Okay. That's again a very good question. See, the first starting point I will suggest everybody, which I have seen giving good ROI. One is to start using it for your familiar use cases. By now, it's very familiar to most of you using ChatGPT, Copilots, Google Gemini, and all that. Is to use it for document summarization and insights from data. Give large. Today, I was talking to a business leader. He was talking about several resumes. He's going through a recruitment process. So I showed him one of my old videos and said, you can use Copilot, give it the job description, give all the 5, 10, 20 resumes that you've got, and ask the AI to do a matching between your job profile and the resumes that you've got and rate it. Again, the idea is not to replace your human experience. What you are looking for is to be an assistant for you. Mainly think of in these use cases as your assistant. So in a matter of seconds, it's able to give him that 10 resumes shortlisted and said, this is how I will rate it. But for that, very important, you need to tell the AI, apart from the job description, what is the most important criteria you are looking in this profile. For
Mm,
example, if you're looking at hiring a chef, I might there might be 5 resumes chef with equal number of years of experience, but you are an Indian restaurant, so you are looking
mm,
at somebody who has worked on Indian restaurant in the subcontinent rather than a Michelin star French chef who has not worked in India. He might be great chef, but
correct.
he may not have the Indian cuisine experience that you're looking for. That's what you are looking for. It can go on manufacturing, it can go on, it might be a business analyst role but more on talking on stage. So what you're looking for is a speaking experience. So you need to tell the AI, we call it as giving the context for it. You say this is the focus that you need to look for in the candidate. So once you give those prompts, it will be able to give it to you. So coming back, those are all the low hanging fruits I will start with. The document summarization, insights call out, writing it, rewriting it, and all that. When I say rewriting it, I will give you this example, which is one of my favorite examples, is on communication. Most often, today's business, it's all about cross-border communication. And again, taking a very familiar example of Indian IT service, we're all servicing the Western market, say an European customer or a US customer. What happens? Assuming I'm working on a fintech solution, it is about an investment product. That is the product I'm working on as a software service company. I have a doubt because I don't understand how 401k in the US works. But that's the workflow that I'm being asked to work on. That is an investment portfolio that this product is working, so on. Okay, so I have to draft this and I have to ask the client to clarify my understanding. Earlier, what happens, I will say, I don't understand 401k. Can you explain me the 401k process so that we can do this workflow? Today, what I can do is I can do a role play to these tools, AI, ChatGPT, Copilot, etc., and given the context that I'm developing this fintech solution for an investment, I understand how PPF and Public Provident Fund and NPF works in India. I'm not able to understand 401k. Can you give me a brief? Understand it, get that understanding. It's just going to take you a couple of minutes, and then you write and ask it to write an email to your client saying that this is what I understood about 401k. Can you explain it more so that we can incorporate it in this workflow? So that two things we have achieved here now. One, it has helped you in knowledge. It's helped you in training. It's also helped you to draft this email in a language that the client will understand. Okay, just going on the same example, just one more if you bear with me. I'm an investment advisor, same I'm writing to an NRI in the US. I want to explain to them the reverse. I want to propose them a PPF, NPS, India Mutual Fund investment, but I want to use the language that the lady in the US will understand, the NRI lady will understand. I'm asking this ChatGPT to draft my email explaining the product that I'm proposing, but in a way giving examples of the US portfolio. So both. So kind of summarizing what I said so far, it's about using it in the communication. We underestimate these tools' power in day-to-day communication. It is so powerful. It can write an email for 5 pages, which you don't want the client to read, or it can write in 2 sentences, which you want the client to really read. We always have a problem. Okay, as the famous quote goes, right? George Bernard Shaw didn't say it. I didn't have time, so I wrote it longer, is the famous saying, right? It's very difficult to write it short. So these tools can help you. So that's on the communication. Let me give you one more point before moving on. The other is on the back-end processes. What is an example is recently in the Thai Shift conference, Mr. C.K. Ranganathan, he was talking about how in one of his depots, warehouses in Karnataka, the warehouse manager was able to give their process in and ask for ChatGPT to optimize the process that they are using in, product out, that whole workflow of logistics in their warehouse. And he says in that one warehouse, they were able to save couple of lakhs every single day by just going and asking process automation, not process automation, process optimization in ChatGPT. Just a simple prompt. So what I will suggest people is to start doing in your communication. Second, go on to your process. Ask how you can optimize your process. Again, you are only asking for inputs. Remember, so you have to, don't ask a thing. I am into a warehouse thing. Can you give me how do I optimize? Give it as much information as you are talking to a consultant, that this is the business I'm in. These are the number of people. This is the challenges currently I'm facing. This is the volume of products that's going through. Can you give me an idea to optimize? That's the second thing. Third, of course, start experimenting. If you're a larger organization, say about 50, 100 people plus, if you have some couple of developers to put on this, ask them to look at this agentic workflows, agentic AI, so that you can look at using these MCPs to give it agency. That is the 3 things, 3 steps I will be suggesting leaders to look at AI adoption.
That's an interesting case study which you shared about CK in the TIE conference.
Yes.
So to add on that, we also Coral also had a stall in the TIE conference, and one of the questions we received in the conference who visited our Coral booth is that, so we hear about lot of use cases and daily usage on the daily reports, but how do I take a decision? Because adapting the AI, training my team members requires investment and also to look at the production efficiency, right? So how can they handle the existing workload in terms of training, implement tests by also leveraging the existing work? So where they can start and how they can approach while they go for the AI adoption, both in terms of investment and also the human productivity.
Um, that's again a good question. So, um, first start with these chatbots, chat tools. That's what I will say. Those are low hanging fruits. Make your people familiar with it. See, one of the things when we always talk about change management is to get the people on board to these tools. That's actually very, very difficult. In my book, also, the Founder Catalyst, one of the chapters I'm talking about is how do you get people convinced on a new way of doing things. That's what is the change management, and getting people inspired to do that. So the best way to do that is to have your micro influencers in organization. Start with people who are friendly to technology, who have an open mind, who want to adapt to new things. Give them chatbot and just leave them. Give
Mm.
them chat GPT, and once they are ready to use it in the agentic workflows and all that what I'm talking about, give them a couple of developers, couple of engineers, and some sandbox environment where they can play around. So then they will go and start influencing to your organization. Second, train your people on the bottleneck in AI adoption today is won't be your uh, junior staff. They will be more than willing to take up these tools because they are very likely to be Gen Z or millennials who are open for technology. It is your middle management and your upper management which will have the resistance. So get them trained, get them onto these master classes and workshops on AI so that they are exposed to a lot of these case studies which are available out there to use it, and then come back to your organization and they can start thinking how do they use it in your organization. And like the saying goes, you can't learn swimming from the sides, you have to get into the water. So start giving these tools as the first step, and then have these micro influencers in your organization, and then start thinking how do I transform my business. It's a once in a lifetime, once in a 100-year opportunity with these AI tools that you can reinvent your whole business. That's how I will start thinking at that. So don't go with an hammer saying that I've got Google Gemini license. Where is the nail that I can go and do? Don't do that. Look at what is your current business. Again, like I said, simplest is we don't need to break our heads. Go to ChatGPT, Gemini, give this thing. It's going to give you some ideas. May not be the greatest, but it'll start making you think in a different direction. And that's where you need to begin.
That's correct, Venkat. That's a fantastic way to begin with. I just now received a question in the chat box. So, what are some of the negative consequences of AI? Is the question. Probably when they mean negative consequences, maybe it's, I understand it may be something like threat or what we need to worry about AI. Does the,
Okay, there are a lot of things we are hearing. Of course, it's very early days. It's probably been about, though, like I said, AI has been around for quite some time. These generative AI, the general purpose AI, what we are now using, has been around for last couple of years. We are seeing some examples already. The famous one you would have all seen, like in a New York court, a lawyer made an argument of past cases which didn't exist. These tools are very good in hallucination. Of course, we don't call it in the industry hallucination anymore. We call it as confabulation, which means lying without the intention of lying. So these tools don't have an intention of lying or deceiving you, but they lie. And people are worried about, oh, I'll wait a couple of years, the hallucination will go away, then let me start using it. No, these generative AIs are designed to be creative. Once you stop hallucination, you're also stopping the creativity. So hallucination will always be there. I won't say will be there. You have to see what is the allowed percentage of hallucination that's okay for your business. Of course, when we are connecting with the agentic workflows, you will also do what is called as uh, re RL, reinforced learning, where there will be checkpoints for what your system is doing. So you're not going to allow mistakes or a transaction of 100 rupees going to become 1 lakh and all that. Those are not going to be happen. So you'll obviously having tight controls for those. But these tools come with the creativity part also will have a bit of hallucination. That's where the creativity comes in. You want them to think in new ways. So what you need to do is you need to put guardrails and you need to do these checks. Many of these foundation models are today having these O3, O4 reasoning models are much better, much lesser hallucination. Those ones. So the judge, the lawyer in this case presented to a judge of all past cases which didn't even exist, which were just made up for by generative AI. Even today, simplest example, you go to Gemini or go Chat GPT, ask it for and ask it to give sources. It will give you URL of say New York Times. There won't be an article in that URL at all. It would have made up that URL. So these are some things companies are also working. It will become better, but those are some things. Be aware of it. Don't just deploy an AI solution without properly testing it and putting it through the process. And like I said, what is the acceptance criteria for you and all that? That is number one. Second, we have seen some other examples also. Zillow, house loan company in the US, had lost about $400 million because it let an AI price housing for repurchase and loans. And in a locality, it set the price based on past prices. But then it turned out the prices are falling because of various other reasons, the neighborhood becoming bad and all that, which the AI didn't factor. Most often, it would be a human error where the human wouldn't have supplied those necessary data. And New York again gave a chatbot, New York Health Department, I guess, where somebody was asking the chatbot, is it okay for me to give it to a customer, a food eaten by rodents? And it said, yeah, it's good. Rodents will have proteins or something, and it went on in a different tangent. So, and there have been examples of airlines which are forced to give a ticket for $1. People have been tricking them on chatbots. So, a lot of examples in chatbots, but very few dangers have been so far recorded on automating with these agentic workflows and all that. So, but people are experimenting on that. Like everything else, test it before you deploy. Best is to start with the sandbox. I will always advise for you to do these transformations for one of the elements, one portion of your organization workflow. Start experimenting with it, get the learning so that then you can take it to rest of the organization. Like they always say, take baby steps with this, but you have to start today.
Yeah. So I love your real-time examples, Venkat, how we can able to simplify things and get it grabs. And I thank the attendees for raising the questions. And also the other attendees, please raise your questions where you are now in AI. Have you started the AI journey? Are you yet to start? Are you facing any existing challenges? Do you have any doubts? Please feel free to raise your questions so that I can pass it over to Venkat and get some clarity about your problems on that part. And Venkat, I want to ask one question. So earlier you have touched about the resistance in the upper management and middle management in terms of adapting the AI, getting it trained or used. Do you think any specific factors or causes what is creating the resistance and how the CEOs who are joined can leverage it and to take it forward?
Okay, I'll give a real world example for the middle management. There are many things we can do, but this is an example I think will cut it across very easily.
Hmm.
There is a small, about not really small, about 100 people IT service company. A friend of mine runs that. The other day, he was quoting me an example of how they are using ChatGPT in their organization. If you hear it, it's a very simple example, but I'll tell you why am I quoting it a little later as I tell you the example. What he's doing is, he's typically in IT services, for those who are few attendees who are familiar, we have a set of people who will go to the customer, talk to the customer, find out what is your requirement from various departments, sales, marketing, if this is a solution. If you're talking, say, if you're building a portal for the organization, we'll go to each department and talk to them to get their requirement, how they are spending their day, how they are working, what is their workflow, what is the various tools, where is the data coming in. Basically, customer requirement being captured. Now, and then a business analyst will write it as a BRD document, business requirement document. And that we get a client sign off, and then we come back and do a design and then develop the software. This is a typical workflow that happens in IT service organizations. Now, what my friend who has this 100 people company has done is, he insisted, moved on these calls, moved on these meetings from real world to Teams calls, Microsoft Teams call. You can do it in Zoom or whatever. And he has got all these calls recorded. This is a real example. He's doing that today for his project. And once he's recorded these meetings of various departments, he's consolidating them and giving them to go say Google Gemini, asking it to transcribe it. Once transcribed, giving back to these tools and say, can you write the BRD from these things? And if you think about it, is it possible? It is possible, right? What does a human business analyst do? He or she goes and talks to sales, marketing, accounts, finance, CEO, CFO, and then gathers all that information into a nice document. Now, that's the same thing that's happened. The AI is now become a participant in your meeting. Once you transcribe it and give it that information, then it's able to document it into a BRD document. If you want to guide it, you can give your standard BRD document templates to it, and it's going to use that template to fill up and give the BRD to you. Now, it's a very simple use case, but if you see here, what has happened is suddenly you've eliminated a role called business analyst or a team lead or a project lead, depending upon your organization. All they do is they're going into these meetings or getting their juniors to do this, come back to them with that, and they then typing a Word document or a PowerPoint or an Excel or a Visio thing. Once that whole thing you have now been able to automate it with these AI tools. Now, once done, you can then give this to, again, these tools. Of course, you can train them based on other things. I'm oversimplifying it for getting the point. Then you can ask them to architect a solution on Java, on Python, on AWS, and prepare it. It may not be perfect today, but it's a great starting point. So what has happened is, from the customer requirement, I'm able to get a BRD and a software architecture in like matter of minutes or hours. Now, am I doing this to eliminate these middle management roles? Actually, no. If you think about it, on the surface level, it looks like I'm eliminating the analyst leads. No. Talk to any of these leads and business analysts. Writing the BRD document is the one task that they will be completely unhappy doing it. Very thankless job. Nobody will read this document. But without this document, you can't build subsequent castles. So it's very, very important. Now that if assuming the AI is doing it 100%, it frees up your lead and business analyst to think about new things. What do new things? They can more now go to the customer and say, boss, I have most often in projects we'll say, oh, let's get this process as you are doing first, and then let's change the process, because today we can't do both. Now with this document capturing everything so fast, your time of your business analyst and leads and managers are freed up, so that they can go and have a conversation with the customer on how to transform their business and change all this. That is the point you need to get to your middle management and say, you just show these tools. If I'm in the middle management, I'm going to get scared, I'm going to get fired. That's not the objective. That shouldn't be the objective of a CEO. The objective should be to free up their time so that they can do more tasks that a human with an experience can do. ChatGPT obviously wouldn't have done 10,000 projects that or 100 projects that your lead has done in that particular space. It will only know the public information, but your lead has all those years of experience of doing 100 BFSI deployment, which you need to capture rather than asking him to write a BRD document. That's how you need to have this conversation. That's how your organization mentors and your whoever is taking your master classes should be guiding your team, that it's not about replacing you. It is freeing up your time on tasks that you don't want to do.
Great, that's great. I can see how the AI can definitely help the middle management and the upper management by leveraging the tools and increasing the efficiency. Rather than focusing on the
Correct.
routine mundane tasks, they can focus more on the strategic task, driving the business forward.
Yes.
So
Arun, I'll
that,
give you one more example.
yes,
I'll
please.
give you two examples actually. One is a very, very simple layman example. We can't do anything about our traffic in Chennai, Bangalore, Bombay, nothing we can do about it. Okay, other than hiring a chauffeur for us. But if you want to do driving, if you are doing the driving or can't afford a chauffeur, it's actually very expensive today. The thing I can do is I can get an automatic car where at least the gear change I don't need to do. So it frees up my time to focus more on the traffic problem rather than the worrying about the gear change. And many of these new cars today have lane change, lane assist, and all that. Let's not go to even the self-driving cars, which is probably a couple of years away and for India, it may be decades away. but it frees up my time. So look at these AI tools as something that is aiding your people as an automatic gear shift, bringing all this data in one place, like the check-in example I was talking about, where this data is available in a pad to that person who's doing check-in about you, rather than he going to 10 different tools and worrying about you. So that's the first thing. Second, communication is an underrated problem, though I said as the low-hanging fruit. Today, most of the middle management and upper management, you look at it, are spending time on communication. The CEO is worried about, am I writing this email correctly for the board? Or the board member is worried, am I escalating it correctly to the CEO or to the customer? That's all where you can use these tools for better communication. It can act as a sounding board. Write it and say, can you read it as a board member and give me comments? Very, very simple example. But look at the impact. You are sending an email to an investor, first introduction email. You want it to be very good. You don't want it to 10 pages, but you want it to one paragraph. But you want that one paragraph to be superb. Use these tools. But be careful. There's also the other thing. I've given recently some examples in my social media of these tools plagiarizing. You say an idea, for example, always have free cash in your organization. It's going to pick up the best quote from Warren Buffett and replace in your document when you say rewrite. So tell these tools, don't bring it from other sources. Rewrite based on the context and the information I've given. Stay grounded. Those are ways in which you can guide these models.
Plagiarism example you have shown that they are just machines still.
Correct.
That's how. So one more question I received in chat, Venkat. The question is all about how the AI can be implemented responsibly and strategically without compromising the ethics, privacy, and workplace moral. I think by ethics and workforce moral, I presume they are speaking about threats or something else. So
Okay.
probably you have covered few points already, but you would like to rephrase to answer
Sure.
this.
This is it's actually a very important question. I always like to highlight the human side of things whenever I'm talking about technology all through my career. Without humans, there's no point in doing technology. Who are we serving? At the end of the day, we are serving other humans. That is what is very important. So people are talking about a concept called minimum ethical product. Just like minimum viable product, people are talking about minimum ethical product, MEP. What do they mean by that? When you do this AI, we were talking about use AI itself to figure out what is the best solution you got to do, and what is the low hanging fruits you can start with, give it agency, give this agentic workflow and all that. So assuming you have identified a workflow where you want to do AI, where you want to improve your efficiency or productivity with AI, start with all the ethical questions. There is a framework to do this. I'm not going to go into that. One of my other talks, I've elaborated that. But use those frameworks to ask those questions in the solution that you are proposing. Is this product minimum ethically allowed? What is a simple example? You don't want to, there are companies which are very careful, say Walmart is super careful. Ethics for them is never overcharging their client. Always have the lowest price. If that is the business criteria, and from an ethical angle also, I'm giving it as a very simple example so to get the point across. So if Walmart wants to ensure that it is incorrect, it's not ethical for them to charge a penny more to their client, then that should be your product should follow that minimum ethical rules. Your MEP should be guided by this rule that you will never charge more. So everything else you can cut. Always product design is about eliminating things you can't do in the timeline. That is time, cost, features. One of them have to give way. But when you have this MEP guiding you, you will say on this parameter I will not compromise at all. That is who my organization is. So you need to identify in your organization, if you are in food, probably the most important ethical thing for you in your industry will be, I will never compromise on the ingredients that goes into my food that I'm making or whatever. Or if you are a cross culture, cross country, you will say I will never be racist. That is a minimum ethics for me. That is super important. So you can decide what is that. And there are frameworks, like I said, for these MVP. So use those. We generally only look at the technology solution, but with the question that you're asking, it's very good. People are looking at it. Go to these MEPs. Organizations like Microsoft, IBM, Google are all calling this as not ethical AI. They are calling it as responsible AI. There is a reason why they are choosing responsible as the term. They want you to take the responsibility in doing your solution. So if you think today, it's not about blaming AI when things go bad. The responsibility which should be still with you. If that is pinned, I think engineers will come up with the correct solution for your organization.
Lovely. The minimum ethical product is a new perspective for me. I think it is indeed very much important as the market is going very
And
competitive
sorry, Arun,
on the
one more point which I like to highlight is what is ethical in one culture may be different in another culture. We also need to be aware when we are talking about cross culture. So if you are cutting across geographies, remember that also. You need to, that is why these AI projects are best done with a diverse set of people involved in it rather than the engineers or the CIO or the chief digital officer alone doing. Please, one thing I'll request all of you listening, please don't do AI as a silo. Please don't hire a chief AI officer and do this. That's not how you need to do. Every CXO in your organization needs to be involved in this. The CIO or the chief digital officer could actually be implementing the technology, nuts and bolts, and deploying it. But designing it, why are you doing it, the objective, what is the outcome, setting up the MEPs especially has to be a cross-functional committee or a group of people. Please don't give it to the CFO or the CDO or the CIO alone. That's a recipe for disaster. Your customers today don't look at you only as your chief digital officer or a digital product. That's an example I'll always like to quote. Go to any of these private banks today in India. They will have a product for the Gen Z, but that will not be available in your existing bank account. They will say this is only available on your mobile phone because a chief digital officer in that bank decided that I will make this new product and launch it only in a mobile phone. That I think is very myopic view of doing it. If you are implementing these products, you can do pilots. Obviously, there's no doubts about it. You can say this is a pilot only available for this age group of people who are starting new accounts, and that's available on a mobile phone. But once it is done after a couple of months, it should be in your native product. Otherwise, what will happen is you will offer AI only for Gen Z. What about your existing customer? You are going to alienate them.
That's true. That's true. We have to include. So I have just two more questions, Venkat, before I
Yes.
receive any further questions. The one is how to take the decision to adapt. Is there any early warning signs that I need to look at, or should I need? Can I wait for some more time? How to take the decision?
Okay, it's a very simple. I will take the decision for you. If you have not done AI, do it today. There is no
Open and
better
clear.
time to do this. There is no waiting. These tools are changing so fast. One of the examples I keep telling is if I'm doing this talk to you next, I'm not doing any demos today, like we discussed. That's beyond the scope of this particular talk. But every keynote I do becomes invalid, expired in 2 to 4 weeks. That's how
Wow.
fast these tools are changing. Because my demo that I prepared for, say, GPT 4.0 is outdated with O3 model because that is doing reasoning. The Ghibli example is just a craze in the last 4 weeks. If I'm talking about image generation without quoting Ghibli, I will lose the audience. So these tools are changing every day. That's like any other industry. In the early 20th century, I'm sure automobiles were changing every year. But then 1929, Ford T came and all that, it kind of standardized, stabilized. That's how AI will also, it's going through a super fast exponential growth today. So you can never wait it to catch it. So you have to get on the train today. Okay, like I said, the easiest way to get on is to start with these chatbots, do communication, then slowly start experimenting to the next level. That is what you have to do. There is definitely no good time to do later. But be careful. Don't overspend. If your organization has a budget or your organization has 100x as your budget for this, don't spend 100x on AI alone. Spend 10x, 20x, spend on 80x on your data collection, data warehousing, data laking, all that core things. Security of your organization data is super important. Just because you're doing AI, you can't be losing out security. Security is gone. Somebody is hacking and taking all your money out. There's no point in doing AI afterwards. AI can come back and tell you there's no money, which is obvious. Like the classic joke of these, an engineer gets dropped and asks a farmer, where am I? You're in middle of a farm. The engineer actually is asking the farmer which city, which country am I in, that old conversation joke you would have heard. So it becomes something like that. So do all your traditional investments in your IT systems and software and everything in your business, and also start spending on AI. Start small, start with these MEPs, start with communication, and then keep scaling.
Wonderful. Do it right now is the response that I can get.
Yes.
Thanks for
And
highlighting it.
most importantly, get the CEO to do it.
Yes. Yes.
Get him to use ChatGPT, if not anything else, to analyze the report that he is getting every day. And he should then do it in the town hall meetings and say, I'm using this to do it. So that is how, again, micro influencers, change management, that's where those come in.
Okay. That's good. So I have one final question, Venkat. So far, we did discuss a lot about a huge journey of how to leverage the AI, where to start, and all. At the end, it has to come and implemented by the team, which is
Correct.
my immediate team. So how can I prepare in terms of their mindset and skill set so that they can go and explore what is needed and draw out the plan and get it implemented? Though it can be done by the team, as a founder or CEO, what are some 2 or 3 immediate steps that I can take and pass out to the team?
Okay. Very practical question. So the most important is to for everybody to start doing it. Okay. And that is very important. There are a lot of these, you can do some selective targeted trainings, micro workshops, and all that for your team. But most important is get them all at all levels in your organization. Okay. I don't mean your blue collar workers or your drivers. Eventually, yes, but not in the beginning. Start them using these tools. There is phenomenal amount of information out there, even for free on the internet. So you can go get it catalog or get the help of people who are experts on this field. Start using that. And the second is advertise small wins, celebrating small wins. Again, these goes into change management. Somebody has done something small with AI, with these tools, start celebrating so that people become demystified for them. They are not afraid of using these tools. One example I will quote. Recently, I was presenting to a group of doctors on how do they use AI. And I finished my talk. It was all well received and all that. One of the doctors, a very specialist, he runs an hospital in Chennai. He picked up the mic and said, Venkat, I'll give you 2 examples of how AI I've used in my organization. And those two were phenomenal examples. I'm going to share to you. I said I'm going to steal this from him, and with his permission, I'm sharing those 2 real world examples, which will tell you how you can start unconventionally using AI. So this doctor who's running an hospital, somebody who's not, some reporting to him is not good, he's not writing very well, his communication was good, not good, nothing, what is, should I say, nothing faulty about him, but he's not excelling in communication probably. And the doctor fires him. The next day, this junior person sends this doctor a well-crafted email for 1 page, beautifully crafted email, appreciating the doctor, thanking him. Doctor, last 4 years or 3 years, it's been a phenomenal experience of me working with you. I've learned ABCD from this organization. It has molded me very well. It has transformed me and all that. 1 page, okay? Doctor was astonished. Wow, this guy can't write 2 lines in English or Tamil. These tools can write in anything, so language doesn't really matter. Let's assume for the discussion it's English. And the doctor was astonished. How can this guy write so well? Articulated these points. Those points were real. Those points were not canned from ChatGPT. Remember, he is actually giving examples how the doctor handholded him whenever he failed. His co-workers have guided him. Real examples. But the way he has put that email was fantastic. And the doctor asked him, how did you do this? He said, I put all my thoughts in the language I know, Tanglish, English, whatever. And I asked ChatGPT to help me. It wrote and I pasted. Doctor was flabbergasted. He said, one, immediately unfired him and said, you are the champion to roll out ChatGPT now in the organization. And this person, I believe, has trained so many people on how to use ChatGPT in the hospital. See how using this tool, again, low hanging, all this guy didn't do anything. Earlier, you wouldn't have sent this email because you wouldn't know how to write this email. You know all these examples of how positively somebody has impacted, this organization had impacted him, but there's no way he could express that he has expressed and got his job. So I said, doctor, I'm going to borrow this example that AI can also give somebody a job back rather than take somebody's job. And the doctor continued, once somebody, again, this guy trained people, and he found out one of his divisional department heads is now able to send him reports faster, immediately, what used to take 1 day. And it turns out earlier the other person had to go to the receptionist or the some other clerk and ask them to write this email so that he can send it to the CEO because his language was not good. Now he has this data, he's putting it in ChatGPT and getting it drafted in a way and pushing it to the doctor immediately. See the productivity gain, very small examples. He's not depending on somebody else now, he's empowered.
True.
So that's what these tools can do. This next, once you take it to workflow, similar things. These are very simple examples to follow. So thanks to the doctor, 2 examples I'm sharing with all of you. All of these tools can be
Another
productive.
another classic example, AI is not cutting the job, but it helps you to thrive if you use properly.
Correct.
So that comes to the conclusion of our session. Thank you so much, Venkat, for your presence and availability with us today. I know your expertise in the area that you are working, but I today have witnessed in face to face, be it the concepts that you bring in and the real time classic examples that is happening in the business or in the workflows. All this helps us to make a clear understanding about what I can do next in terms of AI. Thank you so much for your participation and sharing the insights. I thank again for the attendees as well for your time and availability for joining us today and asking a lot of useful questions. We have picked most of the questions from your webinar registrations and from the chat box. We love that to hear it. I request you all to keep attending the Coral's upcoming webinars. We host a lot of webinars, particularly addressing the CEOs, how it can benefit your business growth and implementing the leadership interventions in your workforce. And one more last request is that if you would like to participate in our leadership challenges surveys where we pick the real-time examples and conceptualize our webinar. Here is the link. I request you all to share your responses in this survey. That comes to the end of the sessions. If you have any more Q&A, please feel free to email us at leadership@coralconnect.com. Looking forward to see you all in another upcoming webinar, most probably in the month of May. We will announce it soon. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Venkat.
Bye.